tolling's not something you choose; it's something that chooses you. Um, you,
That's very
you,
true.
you tend to get into it, and just I won't even say get stuck here, but if it's something that's really enjoyable, you're kind of like giving back to the public. You're still, you can see people, being able to spend more time with their families because of what you're doing as far as moving traffic better. But at the same time, you're always challenged. I mean, you look at what we do on a day-to-day basis. We do engineering, we do technology, we do high finance, we do, accounting, we do marketing, we do communications. That's in a day's work. It could be in the same hour's work, right? So and it doesn't matter if you're, what part of the company or what part of the toll agency you're in, you have to know a piece of all of it in order to get the whole thing to balance and work.
This episode is brought to you by CSG. CSG's SaaS solutions optimize every step of the tolling journey, from billing and payments to customer engagement, helping agencies maximize revenue through smarter, more integrated experiences. Make more, save more, and do more. Visit csgi.com.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Toll Talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kalie Jakovics.
And I'm Alex Vicari.
We want to welcome you to our show today. We have a very special guest, JJ Eden, the Executive Director and CEO of North Carolina Turnpike Authority, as well as the CEO of Alliance for Toll Innovation. JJ, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you so much for having me on. This is really an honor.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, we know it's going to be a good episode. So we've got a lot of good talking points today. So we do like to start with just, having our audience get to know our guest a little bit more. So if you want to give us kind of a background of how you got to NCTA and a little bit about you.
Well, a long journey to NCTA. I've been doing tolling for about 54 years, I think.
Wow.
So.
Okay, great.
In that realm. So, on toll side, I've started at the Pennsylvania Turnpike, actually running calls with the technology back in Syntonic days.
Okay.
That's now actually TransCore. And, kind of ran their Pennsylvania tolling projects there. And from there went worked actually for the Pennsylvania Turnpike and implementing some new technology when they transferred to, I would say electronic toll collection, but it wasn't what it is today. So we were actually there was the old electromechanic, Taylor, Cooper, and IBM stuff at the time. And went to Lockheed Martin for a while and AECOM for a while, and was called to come here when it started the Turnpike originally, and designed kind of the system that we've pretty much changed it out since then. And then then went and worked for AECOM in the middle of that, and then I came back about 6 years ago, and we've done a lot of cool things since in the last 6 years also. So it's been a heck of a ride. So I've kind of always been don't like things the way they are,
Right.
a change kind of agent, and trying to always find the next best thing.
What do you enjoy doing outside of tolling? Do you have any hobbies?
Not really.
All tolling. It's all innovation.
It's technology. I like smart homes, smart cars, connections. I've rebuilt a couple cars. I had a 57 Studebaker Golden Hawk and a 63 Buick Special Convertible. And my last neighborhood, we kind of had all car guys, and we had a 57 Thunderbird and a Model A and a Model T, and
Ooh, very cool.
kind of spent a lot of time laying under cars. I don't know if we were avoiding our wives or working in the car, but one of the
A little bit of both. A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Model T. That's amazing. Yeah. That's
Amazing difference to drive them against a modern car, because they were no hydraulic brakes, all mechanical, no power steering or anything. And so you're going to make a turn, you had to know what you were doing, and it couldn't be raining because the brakes got wet, and it was just different.
Well, you know what? It's ironic we're talking about a Model T and you bring that up in the conversation, because at one point that was cutting edge technology, man. That was
Top end.
innovation,
Yeah.
right? That was everything from the manufacturing line itself to the vehicle itself. That was
Yep.
what's changed in over 100 years. So it's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
Not much, right? I mean, you get into a car today and it's self-driving, right? And you don't have to worry about hitting brakes. And I have an electric car and I drove it to work yesterday and I was thinking, I never hit the brakes until I parked it. So because the regen, right? So it's just all the stuff that happens today. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that your hobbies align with your career too. So that's cool.
Yeah, that really
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah.
Uh,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so what really drove, so 54 years, fantastic background. But what drew you, like, how did you end up in tolling? Because that's always a unique story. Like nobody says, I'm going to go get in tolling. There's not a class in it in college, right? Or anything like that in life.
No,
What
we were
happened?
talking to our interns yesterday, actually, and we're saying, tolling's not something you choose, it's something that chooses you. You,
That's very true.
you tend to get into it and, just, I won't even say get stuck here, but it's something that's really enjoyable. You're kind of like giving back to the public. You're still, you could see people, being able to spend more time with their families because of what you're doing as far as moving traffic better. But at the same time, you're always challenged. I mean, you look at what we do on a day-to-day basis. We do engineering, we do technology, we do high finance, we do, accounting, we do marketing, we do communications. That's in a day's work. It could be in the same hour's work, right? So and it doesn't matter if you're what part of the company or what part of the toll agency you're in, you have to know a piece of all of it in order to get the whole thing to balance and work.
Yeah.
So it's one of these things you'll never get really bored at.
Yeah. And you see that a lot in this industry. So if you're new to it, you'll see a lot of the same faces. They go from one company to another, or they've been in here and they change the role, but generally speaking, a lot of people stay in here, and it is also still a very small industry in a lot of ways. At least the collective groups that get together, right? It's not huge, right? It's not like you're dealing with IT infrastructure or cybersecurity. I mean, that's a component of our world, but it's not necessarily the hub of it. Like those have massive audiences and massive industries and turnovers. Like this, everybody seems pretty close, keeps it close in their lives. So I'd say it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a family. And I can give you an example. My daughter, when she was 17, just getting out of college, was in a really bad car accident. She actually, uh, she's okay now, but she actually was killed, and they brought her back in a helicopter. And
Oh,
uh,
wow.
the IBTTA family or the tolling family, she was in prayer chains worldwide, right? And whether you believe in power of prayer or not, I think it definitely had something to help her pull through and actually live.
Yeah.
So, but the outreach and stuff that I got during that hard time was really amazing. And it's from the tolling family. I mean, from people that were competitors and people that you wouldn't normally think would reach out to you. She was on prayer chains in schools in Colorado, right? That we
Wow.
didn't even have any connection with because somebody actually did that for us. And so tolling is really a family.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. It's such a close group of people,
Yeah.
all across the globe. So
Yeah.
Glad she's doing well. So
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
But those are those things that definitely bring you together for sure.
Yep.
So I'm glad to see the family has expanded into tolling, and we sense that as well. I think it's been one of those industries where whether you're talking to an agency or a partner or a vendor or something along those lines, you do create some good solid relationships. And you never be surprised. Now you're leading. Like we never thought you'd end up there, but now you're leading an agency yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I never really thought it. I never really thought I wanted to do this actually, because I like doing, kind of like making things happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you spend too much time here in the bureaucracy and not enough time actually creating. And that's one thing I like about North Carolina and the leadership above me, that they've allowed us to be able to be that creative agent too,
Yeah.
and actually try to move things forward and differently.
Right.
Well, I want to talk about that a little bit. So, because you've been leading at NCTA since its inception, and so from your vision standpoint, how's it been evolving for you? Heading in the direction you wanted to go initially, or is it are you catching new opportunities and new surprises?
A lot of them are new opportunities. I mean, look at technology's changing. Look at how much technology is changing since I started in this business. You know, from the design of the roads and the cost of the roads to the technology itself. You know, when I started, it was the old electromechanical and treadles and incandescent sensors for lighting and stuff like that with photocell. And now we're using lidar, and we're out of the roadway. We don't have any more sensors in the roadway at all. We're trying to get rid of the gantry. We have transponders. We're cashless. We're all electronic. We've really come along, and and we're seeing the next phase coming now, and we'll be announcing something shortly, and that's connected vehicle payment. So right to the car. So I mean, it's just ever evolving on a lot of fronts, and you have to remember, like when we did Easy Pass initially, it didn't just impact the technology; it impacted the whole organization. Right? Because if you look, it impacted maintenance, it impacted construction of the roadways and what we did, and it definitely impacted finance, right? Again, when I started in this, the toll roads were created mostly to move traffic.
Yeah.
And now the finance component, they're more of a finance organization and, like a normal business than they are just moving traffic. Although moving traffic is still paramount in serving the public. But now we have the whole back office systems and everything else to also support.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, JJ, that takes a lot and it's a huge operation. I mean, in regards to leadership principles, what has kind of helped guide you throughout the years and into this evolving organization?
Yeah.
Yeah, my management style is different. It didn't always fit the employer I was with, which was interesting at some points. Um, you know, I always disliked the top-down manager or the spreadsheet manager that would come in and say, I want you to do this, right? You have to do ABC. I'm more into when I work on a project or have a project come up, I'll go to the person I think that's going to work on it, and I'll say, hey, look, I have this idea. What do you think? And we talk about it. And I said, well, how can you put this together, and how long is it going to take? And most of the time, their schedules are shorter than mine, or what are you going to need? And then I give them the tools they need to complete it. And if they fall or something happens in between, we help them. We don't yell at them, right?
Beautiful.
So
Right.
it's in order to if you want innovation, you have to help people be innovative.
Yeah.
If you want out of the box, you have to give them the opportunity to get out of the box. The other thing I like to do is I watch for people to get bored or comfortable where they're at.
Okay. Yeah.
And when they start getting comfortable, I pull them out into something that they're not comfortable with. Because most people, if you do that, when they finish that project, and we help them finish it, we don't let them fail, right? So when we help them finish it, then they've just grown. They've
Yeah,
grown much
that's how
better.
people grow. You got to put them in those uncomfortable
Yeah.
situations
Yeah.
and let them grow, and it's great that you're there helping them not make mistakes, obviously. But
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
want to comment on this a little bit because I think it's fascinating. This conversation comes up all the time. You talk about leadership, and I think it just kind of clicked for me that as a leader, and we all lead here, we all have leadership positions, and I think what's interesting is we went through a pain point at some point to understand in our journey. We experienced enough pain where we learned from that.
Yeah.
And we have to pass that mantle down. But I think instinctively we think, oh, we have the answer. We don't want you to have to go to the pain point. And I think what is actually really underlying in there, it just kind of came to me. I think I don't want to relive that pain myself, even watching you go through it. So I think that's why I might be inclined to say, let me help you. Let me show you, but I think it has to be a really focused effort to say, all right, Kalie, go experience the pain and be willing to take the loss, on my end,
Yeah.
if you don't succeed
yeah,
I mean, what do you think about that, JJ?
Yeah, I tell everybody I'll help everybody that helps himself. But
Okay.
if you give up on yourself, I kind of lose tolerance
Yeah.
on that side. But definitely from my experience, I've had the micromanagers, right? I've had the boss that takes credit for everything that you do, right?
Yeah.
So, and it always bothered me. So I try to go out of my way. I'm not, definitely nobody's perfect. So I mess up occasionally too, but managing people is, 50-50 the situation. But I really try to, mentor, not lecture,
Mm.
right? And help people grow. I mean, like I'm really big in, the younger generation, because if you look at tolling, a lot of us are aging out.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people retired and retiring over the next couple of years that have a lot of the knowledge and stuff. So, we have a strong internship program. I really concentrate on bringing, people into this, and it's interesting because they're bringing a whole new perspective.
Yeah.
Like we're very data centric now, where, obviously in the past 30 or 40 years, we weren't there,
Yeah.
right? We were just trying to move traffic, or we're trying to manage the accounting, or we're trying to manage the problem. And now we're looking more at what's it going to be like in the future, and how are we going to manage that? And it's a more data centric, and trying to figure out how the departments work cross uh, discipline with each other, and not in silos. Somebody told me once, you have to have silos to work and to accomplish what you want. But the key is trying to connect those silos
Yeah.
so that they work together. Like we replaced our back office system, and our engineering department, which you would think engineering is constructing a roadway, what do they have to do with the toll system, right? But they do. And so they were in the room with them, and they bought lunch a couple of times for the people because they were putting in so many hours. It's just, and to watch that happen is just so heartwarming to see everybody work so well cross discipline.
Well, what you're saying is, it's innovative frame of mind. And I kind of want
Yeah.
to latch onto that innovation and digress a little bit, because you mentioned a couple times in today's show so far, there's a different frame of mind, right? No box, get rid of the box. There's other ways of thinking. And, one of the things I've read, you've published that, which I thought was fantastic. And I think that's exactly how we got connected. I had read this and I thought it'd be great to have you on the show, and that is your, what you've been writing about telematics, right? And so I'd like you to maybe share with us, if you don't mind, when you look at NCTA, what does the future look like for mobility in North Carolina? And is telematics a part of that future?
It's a big part of it going in future. So as I mentioned a little bit before, we're working on a couple pilots that should go live hopefully by the end of the year, that are telemetric centric. So we hope to be connected to a couple of car companies,
Mhm.
and do direct payment. I mean, wouldn't it be neat to eventually, and this is going to be evolution, not a revolution. So
All
everybody
right.
who's listening to this, don't get panicky on it like everybody did with Easy Pass. But wouldn't it be cool to just drive through a toll point and have it go right to your MasterCard, Visa, crypto account, Amazon, Apple account,
Yeah.
and just become a point of sale,
Yeah.
right? On that side. And it opens up that market to a whole bunch of other things also. So it's just, I think we're there. And what would that do to our cost of collection? And
Yeah.
what would that do to our ability then to take the money we make in these roads to put it back into transportation or back into other things to grow? So, I think that's really where we're going. If you look at how we're here and to where we are today, again, it was an evolution. When we started Easy Pass, we thought we were going to have a national back office. That's how we started. We actually bid one, and it didn't go. We didn't get the banking community on board that we thought. They never thought that you could get 3 states or 7 agencies to talk to each other and actually have a business model that would work. And I think it surprised everybody when it did.
Yeah.
So, but then we wound up with all different back offices, and we wound up with the technology split on the front end too with the transponder. So that's all starting to come together now.
Right.
Basically, we did a lot of things here on that, like the video shootout or the multi-protocol technology stuff we did,
Yeah.
to help bring it together.
And I want to comment on that before we move on. And for familiar with telematics or your article that you wrote on this. It's and please correct me.
Okay.
But the concept, and I think you gave a great analogy, just driving your car, not necessarily be tied to a gantry or tied to any particular hardware. It's just literally the walk-in experience of kind of like going to Amazon Fresh, right? You don't need your credit card. You don't need to go to teller, not a teller, but a cashier. You
don't even have to think about it.
You pick up your product and you go,
Yeah.
right? That journey, that customer journey, right? That is putting the customer first.
Yep.
Honestly, in my opinion, is really where we are headed. And I think, you're right that now is the time. Now the technology is there, right? But but I love what you said too. It's an evolution, not revolution, because that there's so much infrastructure, so many components, so many players, and you have also, like you said, an aging population where you're going to have, I think we'll see this change implement over the next few years because you have new leadership, a growing professional base that wants to bring that innovation to them. It's new to them, but it's almost old to them, right? They say, well, this is a standard. We should have this, right? That's just my kind of.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I'm lucky. Manish Ture, who called me out right after I came here. He was the lead architect for one of the big uh, companies in tolling. He called and said, "Hey, do you have a job?" And I said, "I can't afford you. I'm government, right?" And he goes, "I want to come back and work with you. We did some cool things together." And so he's here. So he came up with this concept of open APIs. So you mentioned it doesn't matter what device. It doesn't matter if you're using a 6C transponder or a Easy Pass transponder or a Title 21 transponder or a connected vehicle, or who cares, right? On that side. We spent so much time talking about and figuring out the front end of our technology, right? The classification systems, the transponder and stuff. And really, even in Easy Pass, that wasn't the hard part we thought it would be. It was the hard part's the collecting of the money. It's the back office. So we're looking at open APIs. So no matter what the front end is, at least you have a common payment system in the backside that everybody could connect to bring it together.
Wow.
And then make that back office, and I'm using that in a generic term, make that system, more cost effective
Right.
than it is today. So, again, if like right now, the uncollectible across state lines is a big problem, right? So, but if it was on your credit card, whichever credit card you use, that problem kind of goes away.
Yeah.
Because you're going to pay that bill because you also use that card for, food or gas or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't have to worry about working an agreement with your state next to you anymore.
Now,
So,
are you working with any like partners or collaborations, anything to kind of?
yeah, I can't really talk about partners at this point. We hope to make an announcement in the near future, but some of the people that we're working with to help us get there, and we put a RFP out in the street and brought in Cognizant as the lead, a small company called Microsoft, and another one called Red Hat. So they're working with us uh, to help us put together. It was interesting and surprising when we put that RFP in the street. We only had one company that was kind of tolling bid on it.
Really?
Yeah, which was really a surprise. Um, but we said up front, we wanted open APIs so we could start the changing things. And not only on the front end and the transponder side, but if I want to change the phone system to something else, we want to go more AI enabled. I want to do voice analytics. I want to start doing that stuff on the AI side, on that side. I don't want to have to rewrite the system or buy a new system to do it.
Yeah.
I just want to have open APIs to be able to do that. So we're looking at across the board, how do we make our lives, more flexible? Look, I don't know what the technology is going to be tomorrow, nevertheless, next year, the
Right.
way things are going, especially with AI. So and especially the things you can now do with, automated agents and things like that, or,
Yeah.
analytics. So on the call center side. So, again, we tend to concentrate on the front end, and we think about that's where the customer's pain point is, but they don't even notice what the front end is anymore. They're just driving under the gantry. They don't know if it's a transponder or a license
Right.
plate,
Yeah.
right? but they do on the back end,
Yeah.
right? Call your call center or something doesn't work and they get their bill on that side. So we're trying to be able to make that flexible also.
Now a message from our sponsor.
The business of tolling is complex. Trusted by the world's most respected brands, CSG transforms every customer interaction, communications, billing, payments, and more into a smarter, more profitable outcome. Make more, save more, do more. CSG, solving tolling's toughest challenges simply.
When you think about that, how do you go, what initiatives do you put in place to look for that seamless experience for the road users, the toll road users in North Carolina? And when you
What
talk
you're
about payment
currently
systems,
doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So some of the things like, right now, some of the privacy is a big deal. So, this initially will be an opt-in program
Okay.
for people. So, so they'll know from the beginning we're going to do that. We're very customer focused, right? So we've done a lot, thanks a lot to my marketing group. We've done a lot of great things in just in the past couple of years. We pretty much closed all our walk-in services.
Mm,
We're now doing service through our license plate bureaus, our DMV side,
great.
Harris Teeter, retail. If you look at tolling, we're a retail organization under government.
Yeah.
So, which complicates things a little bit, but we're still a retail business. In North Carolina, we're even more complicated because every one of our projects has to stand alone as an independent business financially.
Mhm.
So they have to support themselves. So if we have a road here in Raleigh and one in Charlotte, they're two separate companies, pretty much. So, but we still have to tie them together into one big marketing plan.
Mhm.
So it's, but in order to do that, I talk about all the different disciplines we have across the board, but then you also add to that all the different disciplines you have within each group. I'll pick on marketing. So we have public relations when something goes bad or you're going to announce something. You have, the creative marketing. I have a big LinkedIn account. I have somebody that handles that. So it's how do you treat the customer? It's when you're designing the system, when we redesign the system, it's what did the forms look like? How do we you know, actually get people to sign up? So do we give the transponder away? Do we charge for the transponder? Or which transponder do we take? How do we interact with the customer? And we're growing too here, so we're now talking about things like the ferry system and transit, and how do we integrate that kind of payment system into what we're doing so it all works seamlessly together. But it's all about the customer, and you have to look at your demographics.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, in North Carolina, we have a pretty big mix.
Yeah, sure.
So from all the universities here in Raleigh, we're one of the highest per capita PhDs to, some of the western part of the state where, unfortunately, because of Helene and the hurricane out there, some people are still living in tents, right? So you'd have to keep reminding yourself. I tell everybody, I guess going back to part of my management style, we all live in our own bubble,
Yes.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And every now and then you have to get out of your bubble and see that how you're living isn't how everybody else does.
Yeah.
And then especially when you're marketing a program or designing a program for somebody, you have to design it for everybody, right? And you have to make sure that you're catering to all those markets and not just the people that are in your bubble.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I'm sorry, guys. I just want to say
You're
this real
good.
quick. When we are the most important people in our worlds, right?
That's right.
We all sit here, and I think you're absolutely right. We do get this habit of just let them eat cake, right? Like just and it's you really do have to find out. I love the fact you're saying get out of the bubble, look and see how you're impacting other people, and the fact that you guys are doing that, right, is a testament. I mean, you need to have that equity and inclusion for people of all different types of payment methods and socioeconomics, and intuitiveness and technology, even, right? And how easy is it going to be for somebody of a ranging age of new drivers to seasoned drivers? How are they going to adapt, right, to this new tech, right? Especially, I think of my son. my youngest son, 19, who's a newer driver, and on top of the pressures of all that, he's got to figure out this out as well. How can we make that an easier journey for them? Right. So I think there's certain battles in life they need to have, I think, but driving on a roadway shouldn't be one of them.
Yeah, I mean, you look at our internship program last year, we sit down with them afterwards and what can we do better and all that stuff. And one of them say, well, you guys use email and we only text. So you don't know how to communicate with us, right? But two things in business, we have to use email because we need the record, right? And the other thing is with all the smishing stuff going on, right? We really don't, really don't want to trust text too much to communicate with the public. So it's a balance because here you have a generation that's used to texting, and it's kind of a not safe platform to be on.
Yeah, well, I think you guys are really, you have that customer experience at the forefront, and I love that you guys are about that. And also, not just for the customers, the drivers, but I feel like you have a great team. I know a couple of people from the marketing department and a few other departments, and it just seems like you guys are a great agency. How do you go about, I guess, the culture there and even finding talent? Because it just seems like you guys are all like on the same wavelength.
So finding talent can be funny, but because I always say I could teach a skill. I can't teach passion.
Yep.
And I can't teach drive or personality, right? So when I hire, I look more for that. So we just, I probably shouldn't tell the story, but I will. So we just built a new building, leased a new building. We teched it up. We have 4 fibers in here. We have a bunch of big screens. It's really teched up in order to be able to be creative. And so I needed somebody to manage that technology, and nobody was going to know it, right? It's combination audio, video, and the internet and everything else. So I was at Best Buy buying a new laptop for myself, and I said to the salesman, "Hey, I'm looking for some people, and this is what I'm looking for." And he goes, "Oh, there's a young lady over in the Geek Squad that's really great." And I went, "Oh, okay. So here's a card. If she's interested, have her call." So she did, and we had a really tough interview. We had like 5 people on it. Everybody loved her, so we hired her, and she's been phenomenal. But there's somebody that you know maybe we gave her an opportunity, but it was an opportunity for us too.
Right.
The,
Yeah.
the other thing is when our interns, if we find an intern that's really good, we keep them during the summer, during the school year, and we pay them during the school year, no more than 10 hours a week, so they can, have a little social money, but it doesn't interfere with school, right? So, um, and then, in here, you know, we have collaborative spaces. We design collaborative spaces, and it's neat to walk through and see the different teams, marketing and operations, or operations and tech, or engineering and tech, all sitting in these little collaborative areas, not in boardrooms, but just little
Right.
areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, just talking to each other. They have a laptop, or we have some portable smart hubs that we move around, and just collaborating with each other and talking. Because I always thought when you go to a conference, the stand up, pound your chest stuff is great.
Yeah.
Most of the business happens in the hall,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
So open collaboration. I mean,
Yep.
I love that.
Yep. So,
Thank you for sharing.
and we encourage it. We encourage everybody to talk to each other. I, you don't have to be bosom buddy friends and stuff like that, but you spend more time here with each other at work
For sure.
than you do probably with half your family, at least in waking hours. So it's interesting, even with all the work from home stuff, mostly everybody's here every day.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
nice because they're passionate and they want to be
Yeah.
there. So
yeah,
that's
but we have a flexible work schedule. So what we did is, we're saying you should be in here 4 days, but if something comes up, stay home.
yeah.
If you have a sick child, or there's a delivery, or you need a day, stay home,
Yeah.
right? And work from there. So
Perfect. That's why you're popular with the younger generation. You see, you connect well to them. I love flexibility.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you for sharing that. We have just a couple more minutes left here, our time together. So
Yeah.
I do want to hear if you have any other projects, programs, innovations at NCTA that you want to highlight to some of our listeners. We'd love to hear.
Yeah, one of the other things we're going to be working on is the Vita-X. We're going to do 2 pilots again, if not the end of this year, beginning of next year. One of our new roads, Manning's Lane out in Charlotte, 485, we're going to try to make that probably the most technically advanced roadway, not only in North Carolina, but in the country.
Wow.
So we're going to, besides for the connected vehicle stuff we're doing, that will be live by then, we're also going to try to do Vita-X, and we're working on maybe doing some innovation with it where you don't need the hardware, as much of the
Okay.
hardware in the 5.9,
Right.
that maybe you can use something else. I can't talk a lot about it, but we're trying to push that too, because after my daughter's accident, safety is a big thing to me.
Absolutely.
And we have a lot of wrong way drivers.
Mm.
Not a lot, but
No.
one is too many.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of wrong way driver pilots going right now. Some using LiDAR, some using striping, some using just different types of signage and other technologies. And we have an RFI on the street for that too. We have an RFI out for anything that anybody can tell us about back office stuff that we can change, or the lane side. So we're open for business in that side, and we're looking not only within tolling but outside. So we're trying to work with Microsoft and Apple and Google and all the stuff on the customer service side.
That's great.
Thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just have to ask you in closing here, what would be the legacy you would like to leave? What's one legacy you'd like to be remembered for or see an impact on, more importantly? It seems like you're more of a giver to the world rather than, so what's the impact you'd like to leave for?
So I'd like to leave everybody's lives a little bit better, whether it's the people that work with me
Yeah.
or the people that we're serving. So, when, we market these roads as we're putting time back in your life to spend with your children and your families, right? And that's the whole point. And as far as the people, I really like, helping younger people in their careers. I have a big thing now because I'm watching these uh, students, or I call my kids, by the way, at 18 or 20 years old, struggling with career choice and trying to figure out what they want to do. And so when I've been giving speeches at universities and stuff lately, or now with the 30-year-olds or people more than 30, I ask, are you doing today what you thought you would be doing when you made that career decision at 20 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I had about 300 people a couple months ago in a room, and I asked that, and only 3 people were.
Wow.
Wow.
So are you guys doing what you thought you'd be doing when you graduated from college?
Pretty
Yes.
close. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
the funny thing was, when I grew up, I wanted to be an MTV music director. Like I wanted to film. I did. I didn't want to be on MTV, but I wanted to film and capture all that.
Yeah.
stuff. And so I do a lot of tolling, but we do have podcasts, we do filming and animation. So I don't get to do it 24/7, but I do get to dabble.
Yeah.
in it.
Hey, that's true.
So I get to have fun with it.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always wanted to be involved in marketing, and I'm at a marketing agency, and I never wanted to have like one set job. And that's kind of true. I feel like I have a lot of different things throughout Mojo. So I would say I'm pretty happy on goal.
But I will say,
Yeah.
to those who don't, it's not always like that. And I think
Yeah.
what you do is you have to pursue what you want, and don't get fatigued and settle because in the pursuit of your path, right? The journey that you're on, because
follow your passion,
Yes,
go.
exactly.
right? A lot of people try to go for the money or for something like that, or travel, it goes away. So, as I said, besides that, the only other legacy you leave when you leave this world is your children,
that's
Very
true.
right?
Yeah.
Everything else goes away.
Well, I know we could keep talking to you for a long
Yes.
time.
Well,
We'll
thank
have to wrap this up. And I just want to say, I really appreciate you for coming
Absolutely.
on. We hope to have you on as a guest in the future. And we really enjoyed our time here today.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, and we hope you enjoyed your time today with JJ Eaton as much as we did. And we definitely hope that you tune in again into another episode of Toll Talk. JJ, thank you very much for joining us today. And to our viewers, hope to see you again soon. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thanks so much.